YouTubers, Bald Rhino back with another exciting video. We are so blessed with the Matt back on the Bald Rhino's channel. There he is. Now, you know with Matt you get vintage. And with this video we have some excellent vintage that everyone's going to love. I always advocate for my viewers that you do not send a whole bunch of cards into PSA at one time, because if you get a bad grader, a grader that's constipated, a grader that's pissed off, whatever, you risk some bad grades. And so in the next 5-10 videos you're going to see some pretty strict grading, and it'll start with this wonderful video. So enjoy. You're going to see some cool cards that you probably have not seen before. And so let's get to Matt.
All right, well, it's a really pleasure to be here on the Bald Rhino channel. And yeah, I have a lot of vintage cards. Most of these cards I've had in my collection for 20, 30 years. Some of them go back to T206s a lot. Most of them are probably in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And in the tradition of giving the bad news first, here's a couple real disappointments that I opened up. So this is a 1962 post-serial Roger Maris card that did not get graded because it was recolored, which I don't really fully understand that.
Yeah, so most likely around the edges at some point someone tried to apply a marker, and you know, that's how it works. In the age of PWCC, it's pretty common, I guess, but it does suck.
All right, so that was, I was hoping to get a graded card or at least get it in a plastic case, and that didn't happen. I was not quite as surprised about this card. So this is a T206. Again, these cards are from like the 1910s. Heaney Wagner. This card was obviously miscut. Typically, you'd see a name at the bottom of that and maybe the team he played for. And so this card was miscut, so they did not grade it. Do they still charge you for?
Yes, they do. So you're feeling really good right now.
Really, so that's like the double whammy. One, you don't get a card in a case. Two, they tell you. So switching right to like,
it's kind of like drinking Bud Light.
Top of the case. One of my all-time favorite players, Ted Kluszewski. This is a 1955 Topps doubleheader, so this is an alternative to the standard cards in 55. These cards don't get encased very well because it's actually two players on one card, and the card actually folds over, so this person at the top, Jim Owens, this would fold over to be, and then as you open it up, you see Ted Kluszewski. This is a great card. You know, they're, by their nature, they're folded open and not. This is a excellent to mid 6th grade. Investor grade. Kluszewski's a great player. I love the, you know, the watercolor sort of look and the
nice work
stuff. So I really like that card. I think it also shows a lot of, you know, what it was like to play baseball back in the 50s with the uniforms and all that. So I just think it's a great card. I'm really happy with that
too. I mean, that card was beautiful. Nice work, man.
Here's a second Topps doubleheader, 1955, Dave Jolly, who was a knuckleball pitcher. And so that card got a 4. It's a little off center. You know, some of these cards get a little colored too, I guess. They're not quite as white, and maybe there's some corners here.
You didn't get a qualifier on though. That's nice.
Yeah. And then the back, it's a neat series. I don't think it gets a lot of love in the hobby.
I agree.
That was not the standard Topps issue, but I'm happy with that card too.
Nice work.
This card was actually a gift from the Bald Rhino. So this is a 1964 Topps Giant. Again, another alternate issue of Mickey Mantle. You know, anything with Mickey Mantle, I think you've got to get graded, and so I'm really happy to get this card encased and protected, and I love having a Mickey Mantle card. So that's, and a good card. You know, it's a little rounded on the corners, but I love it. Great picture of Mickey Mantle too. Like, that's just a nice portrait.
Yeah, nothing. PSA tries to dilute the value of the gift, but we got it done.
All right, so in no particular order, some other cards from my collection. 1968, Pete Rose was my favorite player as a kid, so I collected a lot of Pete Rose cards when I was younger. This was before the gambling. So, you know, these cards have been in, you know, plastic sleeves for a long time, so they're going to get some wear that, you know, they obviously weren't mint when I bought them, but that's a 3. Another Pete Rose, 1966, another 3. I loved the Reds uniforms back then.
Have you seen these grades before, Matt, or is this the first time?
This is the first time I've seen them.
Nice, nice. This is real live TV on the Bald Rhino channel.
Tug McGraw, one of my favorite players. I love this 1972 In Action, which was part of the Standard Series. A 5.5.
Yeah. And actually, I've seen many videos where when you get a submission back from PSA and you get these half grades, you've got the wrong grader. They're being really tough, and so
another grader might have given it a 6.
Yeah, the half grades are horrible to sell, and just, you know, it makes it more complex. But yeah, I got a lot of half grades in mine too, which, what a bummer.
I'm really happy about this card. I just think this card is one of my favorite cards in the collection. A Cincinnati Red fan with Scott since 1974. And, you know, when Joe Morgan was traded from the Astros to the Reds, it really put the Reds over the top. And so just this card with him being traded, I think, is what set the Big Red machine in motion. And so I love having that card because it speaks to that, and a near mint 7 is just awesome.
Yeah, it's a tough card, and that's the Morgan card you want in high grade if you can get it in 72. So
it's tough because of
nice
the
work.
white border in the center.
But there's not a lot of them, so that's nice work. That's a beauty.
1968, Tony Perez, another, you know, significant piece of the Big Red machine, and excellent, very good for, you know, I'm happy with that card. I'm not a big fan of the 68 set, but
yeah. I actually, you know, what, you didn't get a qualifier there. That one's kind of tight on the top, so that actually I think that's pretty good.
Bob Gibson. I think they moved the mound back after 1968, right? When he had such a great, outstanding year. He actually went to Creighton University in Omaha on a basketball scholarship, and I believe he might have been the first African American to go to college on a scholarship. And but obviously made his career as a pitcher. He had a bar in Omaha. I've been to it a couple times because I went to Creighton, and he never saw him there though. But great pitcher. I think he was tough on the mound.
Yeah, big prayers for him. He just came, what is it, pancreatic cancer. So hoping Gibson makes it through there.
1962 Topps. A lot of the cards in my collection I collect for a reason, like the Joe Morgan traded. Obviously, 61 homers by Maris in the year when they extended the season to 162 games from 154. So at the time, I believe that they maybe even had an asterisk in the records book because some of the historians and aficionados said, well, he took more games, and I think he maybe hit his home run in the last game. And so there were 8 extra games. So it was sort of like maybe not apples to apples. We sort of forget that now. But that's a tough series because any little chipping around the edge of that brown border shows. And so I think it's a tough.
Yeah, it's still a beautiful card, though. Cool card to have, too. Nice.
You know, I just sort of collect Cincinnati Reds. And so, you know, back there with the red legs, 1957, near mint 7. I love that grade, obviously. Just a great grade. I love the uniforms. I think back in the 50s during the communism scare, the Reds changed their name to the Red Legs for a few years to sort of avoid, you know, maybe appearing to be un-American. But a great card.
Nice.
I love that.
Investment grade, too. Beautiful.
All right, so now on to the second box.
Nice work.
1970 home run leaders have Hank Aaron, McCovey, and Lee May. Lee May doesn't, don't hear of him much.
No.
But excellent mint 6. I'm really happy with that grade. I like that series of cards. And, the Bald Rhino helps set me straight on which ones to grade and which ones not to. And I think, you have some theories
50-50.
around that.
Yeah.
1958 Topps, Bertie Tibbetts, Ed Bailey, Frank Robinson. Grade of a 4. Must have some corners a little. It's hard to see from here, but the corners might be a little rounded.
You got to remember, all these have been in your collection for a long time. The fact that you have
I probably bought these in the late 80s to early 90s.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's sweet.
Rocky Bridges. He's got I assume it's chew in his cheek. Maybe it's gum. Here's another half grade 1957 card. I do like the 57 series, and I think they're framed really nicely.
His teeth reflect chow. Yeah. Big league chew.
Similar to the other, this is a horrible grade. It's a poor 1. I don't even know how does that happen.
It's obviously got a crease in it somewhere or something, or discoloration paper loss.
There may be a crease there, I guess. But Minnie Minoso, Rocky Colavito, and Larry Doby. I think Larry was the first African American in the American League.
Yeah. Yeah. He was nice. Nice work. I love that card. You got to have at least one in the PSA order. That's why I always tell you, don't be drunk when you put the order together, but be drunk when you get it back.
So here's the first of some T206s in my collection. Lou Ritter. I love the T206s. I think the fact that they're worn around the edges, obviously people love a really nice card that's crisp, but, these cards have been around for 100+ years, and who makes a baseball card with a pink sky and the guy has a double-breasted baseball uniform? It's
great.
Just awesome.
And
I just love it.
Trimmed.
No,
yeah.
It hasn't been trimmed.
That's just great.
And that's the backs are on the T206s, so that's obviously off center quite a bit. Different tobacco companies would have different backs. I think Piedmont is the most common.
I actually think a 2 is actually not a bad grade, really. I don't know anything about T206.
Well, compared to the ones that are coming up. So here is Mike Powers. Some of the reason I like the T206s and some of the ones I would have maybe purchased was because of the uniform differences. Look at the catcher's mask that the guy wears at the time, and his chest protector, looks like an apron, but so that's a poor. There's obviously a lot of rounding on the corners. So the Bald Rhino would probably say if you have a T206, get it graded and get it in a case.
I agree. They're so small, so tough to transport.
So this is Rube Marquart. He's in the Hall of Fame. A great pitcher. That's another one that I guess there's a fair amount of variation in the ones, but obviously it's creased, it's rounded. There's different poses, so this is the portrait pose,
nice work.
Yeah. This is probably the best player in my T206s. So here's Ty Cobb. This card, might be hard to see in the video, but actually has a lot of small indentions. It almost looked like somebody ran over it on a gravel driveway. So this pour, I would say, is not is in worse shape than some of the others, but it's Ty Cobb. The sky is,
awesome.
There's 6 colors in the sky. He's got, just that pose with him in the bat. I just think it's a great card.
Gosh, it's fantastic, and there is a lot of variance on those ones.
A 2.5 good, George Pairing. These T206s, you've got a pink background, you've got a yellow background, they're colored portraits, it looks like. So I'm happy to have all of these encased, and you can see the difference in the grades here.
Well, maybe somebody will comment like what a good grade is for a T206, since I just don't know. I imagine that's got to be pretty good for 100 years old.
So here's a 1.5 fair. Huey Jennings, one hand showing. He may have been a manager. I forget a little bit about some of these players, but again, you've got
Great.
a golden sky, and he seems to be pretty excited about something.
A lot of color variation. That's a great card. Congrats, Matt. That's cool.
So this is another pour. You can see the big crease coming from here to there. I'd say some of my pours are better than others. I think his nickname was King Kelly. He might be in the Hall of Fame. I love that card too. Again, a different background. Every card seems to have a different background. That was red. Here's a blue background. I love the pose in this card. So it's got like this wool sweater on, He's got this glove that looks like an oven mitt or something. And he's Otto Nobby.
Yeah, so it is a miscut there, so that's your first qualifier off, so that's not bad.
So it must be miscut from sides, or I don't know.
That's one of the weaknesses of they never really tell you explanations.
So, and this is a sweet caporal, as compared to the Piedmont. So there's a couple variations in the back. It looks like there's maybe some pencil there too.
There's a polar back too, right? Or something.
Polar,
like that.
yeah, the polar backs are a darker color. There's several. Yep. I love this. So yellow. I love this card for the uniform. There's his catcher's chest and body protector.
Great.
It looks like an
Is he an umpire or is he a catcher?
I think he's a catcher.
Huh. He could very well be. I don't know. That's great.
That's just, that's a pour, but I love the card. Love the contrast. This was my Mordecai three-finger brown. So he had lost part of a finger in some sort of an accident. So obviously the nickname three-finger brown, which made the ball do all kinds of crazy things when he threw it. And so I just sort of love the story. He was a great pitcher. And there is a variation of this card that is not the portrait, where I think you can actually see part of his finger sort of missing, which I sort of like that card too.
That's a 3.
That's my favorite. That would be my favorite player in the T206s, and I love that grade.
God, that's fantastic.
In the Cincinnati Red collection, something about the gold backgrounds, but
and look at that. See, that doesn't have a miscut qualifier.
Yeah, I don't understand that miscut.
I just love
collar shirt has come up high. Look, the hat is, awesome.
That is great.
Wee Willie Keeler, one of my favorite players. There's a great book by Lawrence Ritter called The Glory of Their Times, and it's all about players that right before and after the turn of the century. It is an absolute wonderful read. It just talks about some of the in-depth stories of these characters who, they were baseball greats on the field, and in the off-season they were selling plumbing pipe or insurance, and it just speaks back to the origins of the game. It's a wonderful read. Wee Willie Keeler was about 145 pounds. He used to say the secret to his success in hitting was I hit them where they ain't. And, just a great batting average in the Hall of Fame. I like this card a lot. I'm really happy to have a 2 considering all the ones I've had. But
that's great.
A couple more cards. Wally Post, Cincinnati Reds, 1959. Thrilled with a 6 on this card.
Beauty. I love the black and the yellow.
I'm sorry. If I said Cincinnati Reds, I think he was a Red. He also played for the Phillies, obviously. Vada Pinson, one of the great Reds. I think he was later traded to the Royals.
Yeah.
This is the post-serial 1963 card. Unlike the other one, I guess this wasn't colored around the edges. They're all hand cut because they were on cereal boxes. But I'm really happy with a 4 on that card.
Pretty. How would they even grade that? You know, I'm sure they have these techniques.
This, here you go. Johnny Bench, near mint to mint 8. I love that card of Johnny Bench. Big Red Machine. It was really the first year that I started really collecting cards alongside Scott. We would always love getting Reds. We were always trading Reds. All we wanted were the Cincinnati Reds. And this is just a great card from, really the first year I collected. And I'm thrilled with an 8
And
on
this
that.
is from your personal collection when we were kids, and you got an 8 with that. That's ridiculous. That's so awesome.
I may have bought that subsequent.
Oh, okay.
I might have another version of that card that's probably a 1.
Okay.
But,
all right.
It's one of my favorite cards. I probably did buy it.
Well, let's get Matt on the station here. Thank him. Matt, thank you so much for sharing.
Pleasure to
great
be on
collection.
the channel, and I enjoy all your tutelage with the card advice.
Yeah, that was fun. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Have a good night.